In this video we'll talk about batch traceability. Now, to actually use the batch traceability form, there's many locations where you can use this functionality. You can see here I've already got my form open because I'm starting it from the menu under batches in the item master. It could be a function within the cockpit itself. If we're looking at it from a complaint perspective, we could look at batch traceability from the complaint form itself by just doing right mouse click, and we can see batch traceability there. Another alternative might be to just go to the additional batch details record. Just pull up a transaction here, and again we can do batch traceability. So there's many locations where you can do and run the batch traceability process. So I just selected my item here, my batch number, my list of batches. This will now display this in a graphical Gantt chart. And what we're seeing here is the top end. This is one of my product espresso. We've got some information here about the quantity that was produced for this particular batch with expiry date and the batch number. And if we go backwards, we can see that this item was produced from another made product, which was something called East African, and we used a quantity of 45. Again, this in batch details. We can also go see that this product was also made from a manufacturing order. It made Ground Central, which also made a manufacturing order for roasting, and then obviously a purchase item here called green beans. And then there's another item here which is South America. We can obviously move these things around to make it easier to have a look at. Now that's one thing in terms of visualization, which is great. The next question is, what about transactions? So how to look at transactions? By just clicking on the right mouse button on the box itself, the form comes up showing all the transactions associated with this batch. So very easily we can see all the ins and outs of this particular batch associated with this item. So we have the goods receipt from the manufacturing order, so we can drill down into the manufacturing order itself and view all the different documents and transactions and the format of the manufacturing order, so we can see all of that information. But just going to the documents section, we have all of the transactions associated to that, and then we can see the items that were consumed and then the manufacturing process. So we've got all the information we need at our fingertips in terms of how the product was made. And then we have the delivery, showing then all the list of the customers this item went to, in terms of what was picked and went out, and also what came back in again. So for example, we can show all the things like returns, credit notes, and also QC test. So we basically are able to pull everything together which is associated with an item in terms of all the transactions. If I just close that now and go to, let's say, to my item here, my Green Central, I can just click on this again, and this shows me all the activity, all the transactions for this particular product. So we can see where it was purchased in terms of the purchase transaction. So we've got a purchase goods receipt, so we know where it came from and it was purchased. And then we have then the goods issue transaction in terms of how much went in to make a product, and then we have a stock transfer and a QC test as well. So again, we have all the information. Now one of the questions we need to ask ourselves is, okay, so that's a backward trace. So we checked this item and it showed me everywhere where it went to. But let's reverse this. If I just do press Control and right mouse button, this will now do an automatic forward trace. So for my forward trace, I can then see that the item which we're just looking at went through a manufacturing process of roasting, grinding. It went and made one particular batch of 97, another batch number of 100 on the same day. So this is a good example of going forward and then finding out the information. And if I just click on here, we can then see the goods receipt transaction from the manufacturing order. Now you may be asking yourself, what does these icons mean? Well, the green arrow means that this batch is okay, and the cross means that there is an issue with this item. So if I just do Shift Control, I can look at the batch number itself, the batch transaction, and just going into the business one batch item now, you can see that there's a code here called non-accessible. So by having non-accessible, basically shows this item is cross. If I have it as locked, then it'll be a different icon. So when you change these icons, let's change it to locked. Let's press OK, and let's just go back and let's press OK and let's do a refresh. You can see that the icon has changed. So it's very dynamic in terms of how you change your information within Business One. And that's a good example of the process force batch traceability function.